Welcome to the Programming and Operations Room. This is our station. This is our station marketing and panel. So I want to take a first welcome all of our attendees and all of our Facebook viewers. Thank you guys for joining us today. I want to go around the horn to introduce our panelists here. We have a nice array of panelists, folks who have different type of stations here. And so I'm going to kick it around. I want to have those guys introduce themselves, tell a little bit about their station, and then we can dive into some of the marketing techniques that those guys use. So, Bud, do you want to start us off and introduce yourself, my friend?
Sure. You know, my camera's off. If you wanted to turn my camera on, that's fine.
You are welcome to. Oh, here we go. Sorry, my friend. Here we go. And you're welcome to turn your video on. You can. You just have to click the little video icon on the side, and you're welcome to keep them off as well. It can be an audio.
It doesn't want to work, so no big deal. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Hope everybody's doing well and basically still, hunkering down in your homes. My name is Bud Kress. I am the owner and operator of That 70s channel, the biggest hits of the 70s and more. And I also have that Christmas channel, the biggest hits of Christmas and more. And yeah, just kind of, we've been on the air now for over 18 years. It's coming up on 18 years. Started off with Live 365 when they first started back in the early 2000s. And the station has grown into a very successful operation, and we're very, very proud of it. But I'm living in Sacramento, California, or Rancho Cordova, California, but I guess you could say that. And just having fun every day.
Awesome. And then Rob, do you mind introducing yourself and your station?
Sure, let me see whether I can turn on my video. Can you hear me at least?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so yes, my name is Rob Quicke. Hello, greetings to you. I am Her Majesty's representative at this conference. And of course I'm not really, but having said that though, I'm delighted to be here, and I live in New York now, and I work in New Jersey. My day job is professor and also GM of a radio station, a college radio station at William-Paterson University in New Jersey. And then my not day job, evenings, weekends, and the rest of my life is running a college radio day and World College Radio Day, which is an event that is now, well, we're into our 10th year, over 600 radio stations in 43 countries. So it's kind of gone from this one station that I was at to being this thing that sort of now has gone globally. And that's not a problem. I'm not complaining about that, but it has generated quite a lot of work. And when it comes to marketing, a lot of marketing questions had to be answered, and a lot of ideas had to be quickly formulated as to how we're going to promote this thing and market this thing to now a global audience. So I'm always doing something radio related, always a very busy person.
Awesome. Thank you guys for giving us that introduction. And we do have Scott. Awesome. You were able to make it, my friend. Can you hear me, Scott?
I can. Hello.
Awesome. Great to have you. Thank you for joining us, my friend. So we were just doing some introductions. I wanted everyone to kind of give a background about yourself and then your stations, and then we can kind of dive into the marketing. So you want to give a little bit of background information about yourself?
Well, sure. I'm Scott Adams. I host The Sounds of Brazil on live365.com. And the show itself has a 28-year history, starting out first as a 2-hour weekly radio broadcast on smooth jazz stations in 1992. In 1999, we joined Yahoo's broadcast.com to become the first streaming entity for Brazilian music worldwide. And since that day, pretty much every day has featured The Sounds of Brazil somewhere streaming online. We've been a longtime partner with Live 365. And I also program a series of Brazilian music channels for AccuRadio.
Awesome. Thank you guys for doing an introduction. So So I do want to dive into general marketing here. I want to start with kind of what is everyone, I'd love to go around the horn and I'd like to get everyone's like, what is our number one kind of the core of everyone's marketing plan that you guys kind of use to attack? And so let's start with, Bud, if you don't mind starting, and I'd be curious, I want to start, if you don't mind, with kind of your plan with the attack, like with your That 70s station, your station that is basically continuously running where it's not like a seasonal based station. So what do you view as kind of your core of your attack strategy in a marketing sense?
Well, marketing for That 70s channel has always been basically, first of all, putting a good product on the air. Now that is number one, always keeping up on what people like in music in the 70s. We do a lot of research and making sure that that is on target. The second thing is that we're consistent on how we present ourselves. So for example, we are the biggest hits of the 70s and more. And that's something that I have marketed since day number one. It has not changed. Now, we add a little bit to it, like your number one place for fun, basically our generation's time machine, little things like that. But basically, as it sits, That 70s channel, as well as That Christmas channel, has always had its slogan of the biggest hits of the 70s and more. And from that, we have expanded on to things like Facebook and Instagram. And Instagram and Facebook pretty well has a post on it maybe 1 or 2 times a day. We concentrate on marketing that way from music and social things that's going on all the time around us. Some nice little jokes, some things that people like. And that has seemed to be a big factor in keeping the listener levels of That 70s channel high. It's not that you necessarily are going to get a lot of new listeners. Well, you're going to get new listeners because old listeners basically drop off for a while. They've had enough of the 70s. But as a 70s radio station, you have to always know that you have a market out there. There's going to be people coming in and going out, people coming in and going out. So what we're just trying to do is keep the focus on That 70s channel, the biggest hits of the 70s and more, and your number one place for fun. And that seems to work very well. But Facebook has been a wonderful tool for us. Instagram with it, of course, because it's basically the same thing. But Facebook has been very, very well. Now, we've done some marketing in the aspect of spent some extra money and marketed it across the country. That has helped a little bit, not as much as I thought it would be, but it's something that you always have to keep moving. And we sell a bunch of t-shirts too.
Awesome. So curious, you're using Facebook a lot. Are you doing more paid ad buy type campaigns on Facebook?
We have found that the best way to do that is by word of mouth. We've tried the paid aspects, but I haven't really seen that much results on it. But what I have seen is making sure that people share it. When people start sharing the whatever we post, that seems to do more good than just about anything else. The more shares, the more that we have. It's amazing how much you share a one particular item, and then all of a sudden it's going everywhere. There's also one thing that we do at That 70s channel that is very important, is that every single post that we put up there, it basically has our logo on it, as well as a link in the description. Of course, it's always says, that70channel.com, powered by Live 365. So it's basically a mixture of both our station and the network.
Awesome. And actually, so I wanted to branch off that with that Facebook. You're very much right that I've seen that myself as well, where stuff that gets shared more and engaged more, it seems to be a downhill process. And so more so than ever putting money behind an ad spend type campaign or anything like that, the most traction has been able to get people to engage with that content, share, like it, comment on it. That's always been in my experience, some of the best Facebook value that I've ever really gotten. Actually, there was some research behind that where Facebook for many years and continually was kind of rewarding the engager, they call it, where posts that had tons of shares already did get rewarded. So that's fantastic advice right there for sure.
And just to add to that, one of the things when we're promoting Facebook on the channel, on that 70s channel, we basically always say, you know, be sure to stop by our website, check by our Facebook page. Don't forget to like us and share us. You know, always say it's kind of like rinse, lather, and repeat. You know, it's those same little words. You know, hey, like us and share us with all your friends, and that seems to have really worked very, very well. And if you keep hammering that into them, you're going to be successful, and that's exactly what we've done.
Nice. Yeah, that consistent messaging. Yeah. So I want to hear from some other folks. Scott, you know, what is kind of the core that you use for your kind of marketing attack for the station?
Well, from the beginning, the Sounds of Brazil, the name itself was chosen because it's an identifier that kind of sells itself, just like that 70s sound does for Bud. My problems and concerns from the start were relatability, because a lot of the music that the Sounds of Brazil has played over the years and continues to play is in Portuguese, and that's a language that not many people speak. So there were some on-air marketing cues that we took from that, and I began to program songs that had great hooks, that had nice rhythms and nice melodies, as opposed to actually what the content of the song lyrics were. So we positioned music that way. I came up with smooth jazz in the early 90s through its demise. And so the instrumental positioning of the music also played into the mix for the Sounds of Brazil early on, and that helped a lot. We also found that there was a lot of crossover with jazz musicians creating music in the Brazilian style, if not authentic, but it lended a commonality in programming that allowed me to be able to market the station. And one of the notes that I made last night in preparing for the panel today was a question: does marketing drive programming? And I think in a certain sense, that is the case with the Sounds of Brazil, because it's all about crossover and outreach for me. Everything has to be relatable to the listener, or they're not going to find an anchor to hang on to in terms of being able to be a consistent listener. So we give them keys that are relatable in all of the marketing efforts, whether it's online, on stream, or in social media. It's always building on commonality. For instance, listeners may not be able to relate to songs sung in Portuguese, but they can certainly relate to Rio's sun-kissed beaches. So we always build off commonality. And that is what has helped the Sounds of Brazil to be able to effectively reach a consistent listening base of core listeners, P1s, if you would, in radio, that are there decade after decade with what we do. And of course, once you have that base, then you have the ability to really expand. And I would say that initially, as we go through this hour, that I do a lot of event-based marketing, events that occur on the station, on the stream, but are marketed into social media and otherwise.
Nice. So what is on that? Because I like the event-based marketing. What's kind of an example? Do you have an example of an event that you've had that was kind of a, you know, that maybe you did particularly well, or it's a kind of a good example of it?
Oh, sure. Well, first of all, we have to understand the three phases of an event. And I think that's critical for anyone that is in the business of programming music. And it's something I learned early on from Steve Stiles at WNUA here in Chicago. And the event has three sections. It has the run up to the event itself, and the aftermath of the event. And I learned that the most important of the three is always the run up to the event. So that's where we put all of our weight. And a couple of things that we do. One is on the Sounds of Brazil every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Eastern. We present a feature called Brazil Back to Back. 2 songs, 2 in a row of a theme. So we may take 2 different versions of the same song, 2 songs from a particular artist, 2 songs from a particular theme. And that's proved to be really, really successful with listeners. They like being able to key into the imagination aspect of what the Brazil Back to Back brings to them 3 times a week. We have a nighttime program called Quiet Nights after the Corcovado lyrics. We do the Sunday Brazilian brunch on Sundays. We do Bossa Nova Breeze programming, which is all Bossa Nova, all Saturday. So those are online events, and they're promoted to be in the moment and to keep motivating people to join the stream and listen. One of the big factors that we use on Connect Brazil, which is my website for the Sounds of Brazil show, connectbrazil.com, is our picture of the day, where we put up an exciting or interesting image from Brazil, and then we tell a little story about it and get people to buy into the concept of the culture of Brazil, because it's so important with music being the anchor. So these types of things build into the theme of crossover and outreach, always relating back to what you want the listener to understand about the music you play. I think that there's always a bigger picture than just the songs. It has to be that way for the Sounds of Brazil, for sure.
For sure. So I do want to, I will want to revisit, I loved your comment about does marketing drive programming? I certainly want to revisit that one. But with the event-based marketing you had mentioned, what do you do? I'm assuming all of the events you're talking about are either specifically around content-based events, and it's not necessarily like a giveaway, right?
Oh, it can be. It really doesn't matter as long as you understand the formula for events. The run up to whatever you're doing is the most important time. The reason for that is because it touches people's imaginations. They get excited about whatever that event is going to be, whether it be a ticket giveaway for a concert or something as common as a streaming debut for a new song. The sense of anticipation is the greatest emotion that drives a listener. Once the event happens, it's usually a letdown from the build up to the event.
Sure.
And then you have the ability to go back and touch on the memory, which is also a very powerful emotion in programming music. So when you're using events that are for radio or for streaming stations, the ability to create that cycle of event is critical to building passion with the listeners and giving them something tangible beyond good programming.
No, that makes total sense. Curious on the lead up, what is your core, like do you use Facebook, or what's the kind of the core that you use to kind of help show these events that are happening? Or is it through, or do you push all of the events kind of through a website that you have everyone going to?
Well, we use Facebook a lot. I mean, who doesn't?
Sure, yeah.
We also incorporate musicians. We go after the musicians in a personal way. We play their songs, we reach out to them and let them know. We ask them to share the message on their Facebook pages. And so we build into this community, and you know, there's a referral aspect to marketing, and marketing is such a broad term these days, but
Right.
the referral aspect that we use through the musicians helps us gain credibility with fans of the musicians themselves. So the musicians tell their fans about the Sounds of Brazil, and that gives us a little more authentication than we could normally do it on our own. I'm fond of saying that nobody knows your story better than you, but sometimes the best person to tell your story is someone else, simply because of the authentication process.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay, and actually that's a great branch. So the event-based one. Rob, I mean, you have a very interesting one, obviously, because you're doing that one, especially with World College Radio Day. You're kind of encompassing it all into one large event throughout the year. So tell us a little bit about kind of your marketing challenges with that, considering it's a different angle and it's a time-based event.
Yeah, so, you know, three questions really I ask myself, and you can ask yourselves as well, is that, you know, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to promoting an event or promoting anything, what marketing actually resonates with your audience? Because you can throw things out there and nothing on Facebook, on Instagram, on social media. We use sometimes SoundCloud to post content and audio. What actually connects with an audience, sometimes you can be completely wrong. Sometimes you can post something and you're absolutely mystified, happily so, that suddenly it's getting shares and all these commenting like, well, that was just a very easily produced bit of marketing there. So what is it? Over time, you kind of build up some kind of idea, some kind of profile of what actually resonates with your audience, that people follow you, which is number two. Question number two is, how can you ease that burden of marketing? Because if you're promoting, as we are, World College Radio Day, it seems like you're on this endless treadmill of always churning out, you know, content in terms of, you know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, that kind of stuff. How can you ease the burden? And as just been referred to, is that you ease the burden of that marketing when you convert your followers. When your followers are not followers and supporters, they become active advocates or ambassadors for you. So when suddenly it's not just you who or your small team or your organization that is promoting what you're doing, suddenly you've got people who are promoting it because of the sheer fact that they believe in it. It means a lot to them. They believe in it passionately. And the third question I always ask is that, okay, so what are you working towards? What is the best case scenario realistically? And that word realistically is crucially important. We wanted as many college radio stations to join us as much as possible. When we started College Radio Day 10 years ago now, I had no idea. I just thought it was going to be for the USA because I live here in the USA. I had no idea that other countries wanted to join in. And so now we have 43 countries. And so the problem was with that was then generating content in other languages. And a lot of problems can sometimes come from good problems, if you like, from what you're doing. And are you ready? Can you cope with that growth? Can you cope with, actually, if this thing is tremendously popular, can you cope with servicing all those people? And finally, just about that, sometimes you think, well, what is best case scenario? When we had several hundred college radio stations in the USA alone, I think it was over 350, you know, no guts, no glory. I thought, why not just, this is when Obama was president, why not just, hey, send an email to White House saying, hey, listen, I think President Obama should know about this, that we've got all these stations together. I think he should support this. And so, you know, sometimes you go for it and you never know what's going to happen. More often than not, nothing happens, but once in a while. So that is how twice we got invited to the White House. I took some students from College Radio. I got presented by a letter of support for College Radio, the medium itself, by President Obama, and I interviewed Vice President Joe Biden at the time. So you never quite know. And just a little over a year ago, we sat down with the GPI chairman of the FCC who wanted to know about what's going on in college radio. All of that achieved on a marketing budget of essentially less than $2,000 a year.
Wow, nice.
So sometimes, if you can find a way to unlock your audience's passion and the ingenuity, give them a role that they can be active supporters, they can be advocates and ambassadors for you, you can find yourself going to quite remarkable places. Even for an English bloke ending up in the White House, it's quite remarkable.
That's fantastic. So would you say, would you say that it's the kind of the core of your marketing plan would be kind of building that community around the event and getting that feeling of it within people?
Yeah, because obviously right now we are in a very difficult situation, difficult circumstances, but actually there is an important role to play for radio. There's an important role to play for music, that it can provide essential comfort to listeners during this difficult time, and that actually these things are never going to be unimportant. So what you have to do is find a way to connect with those people who, like, actually they resonate with music, you know, like that 70s channel or Sounds of Brazil. There's going to be people who are going to like that and actually say, you know what, this is my thing, this is my bag, this is what I'm really into. So once you find those people, and there's lots of people out there, it's just about building that community, building that audience, and those people will tell their friends, they will spread the word as well.
Awesome. curious, since you're doing the international, and obviously you have to do, you know, and you had even mentioned about how do you get content in different languages, marketing in different languages. Is that something that you have to worry about? Like, are you going through Google Translator and translating posts, or is it pretty much a trickle down where you, since you're having other stations join in, they kind of handle the marketing on their
So
side?
yeah, so one way we built community was the idea that, well, first up, you, and anyone can do this for any organization, is that without ceding any loss, you know, losing control, you can set up an advisory board, and some of your biggest supporters and people who work the hardest for you will be people who first heard about you as fans, who stumbled onto you, and they're really passionate about it, to the extent you can say, listen, if you believe in this so much, could you help us out? And that's why you can't do all of this yourself. A small team can't really handle, if you're talking about 43 countries. But what we do is we have roles for people. And also, don't forget, there were people out there who would love to be asked to help out with something, to feel as if they have some responsibility and that they can be part of a larger vision. People would really appreciate that, and people do appreciate that. So you have to build a community, and from that community, natural leaders will emerge.
Yep, absolutely. So I'm curious, and I do want to go down, you reached a hot button issue for myself. I believe that community-based marketing is the core of it. And it's no longer just a sales aspect. You guys remember the old time marketing was just, you're always making a sales pitch, and it's always just pushing some sort of agenda. And where I believe the community aspect is where marketing has to go in the future, and that everything, you know, and we all as people will buy, and we tune in, and we absorb content based off of social reasons and based on those feelings because of it. So for somebody in the room here who is saying, okay, I'd love to build a community around my station. Maybe I'm doing an event one. Maybe I'm doing, maybe my station is just a normal one. What kind of advice would you give them to start out knowing that, okay, I might have a station, I have some followers already, but I haven't really pushed a community-based feel. What would you kind of encourage them to start off doing?
Well, ask people what they want
and engage with them. You say that's probably the super
give
core.
People what they want, don't you think?
Absolutely.
I can't speak for Scott or Bud, but you know, if you can scratch that itch, then that's the first step.
For sure.
Well, here's an example for that 70s channel. Remember, I'm a 70s radio station. So what it basically boils down to is that I don't necessarily live in the 70s. I play music from the 70s. I'm still a contemporary radio station, but our lives in the 70s. So that is the aspect of what's going on in the 70s. I mean, we're basically talking about, hey, you know, when we were kids, we basically went off I saw a great post on something like that where a kid's going off in his three-wheeler, you know, flying through the air, basically. That's things that happened in the 70s. I mean, we basically went crazy, and we touch on stuff that we remember from the 70s. For example, you know, you have a 8-track player or something of that nature that we just kind of, that's our little marketing. It's our images. It's images that we can throw out there that has, oh, I remember that of the 70s, and then tie it in with the music of the 70s. So, you know, anytime you can make fun of a song, basically, you know, something of, hey, there, you know, look, there's a Ford and slowing down to take a look at me. There's, you know, it's basically you have an animal basically and making fun of that particular words, and you just tie that in with a song of the 70s, and it just people say, oh, that was funny, and all of a sudden they share it, and then it just goes everywhere. You know, we're doing something of the same thing right now with the Zoom phase that's going on. My social media guy put up something called "It's Time to Zance." Okay, that's dance with Zoom, right? So people can get up there, and we're going to kind of do a little promotion of people basically showing everybody on a Zoom. And I think Zoom is going to be something that we're all going to be looking at too, where we can, you know, all to get together as a 70s audience and talk and everything else, because people are at home all the time. So we're going to get ready to market that. I know I'm giving my stuff away, but we're all friends. What can I say? So we're going to Zance here pretty soon. Little things like that. You just have to kind of engage the audience, just like my other two moderators, people on the board are talking about, but we just got to have some, you have to have fun. Fun is what it's all about on the radio.
Everyone's got a story to tell, and help them tell that story through what you're doing.
Exactly, 100%.
Well, I really liked Rob's comment about giving listeners something they want. Justin, I'd like to amend that just a little bit from my perspective.
Please.
By saying, give your listeners something to believe in. And I think that that is, for what I do with a niche type of format, it's really a critical aspect of successful marketing. And here we go again with marketing drives programming, but that's the real truth of it. Coming up as I did with WNUA and their smooth jazz format here in Chicago, we were one of the most successful stations in the format and in the industry overall in attracting a community of listeners that really bought into the lifestyle concept of the station. And that lifestyle concept brought so much to life for so many ancillary aspects of the city. It super raised awareness for art festivals because people associated those art festivals with WNUA. WNUA did a program that was monumentally successful called the Trip a Day Giveaway, where they partnered up with an airline to give away trips anywhere in the world American Airlines flies every day. And they did it for years. These types of concepts are beyond the reach of most of us, obviously, but the idea of giving people something to believe in is what creates loyalty listening. And I think it's beyond that too. These days, it's much more complicated to find and hold on to an audience than it was 20 years ago, say. And even the aspect of how prolific music in general is to any of us and all of us, my feeling is that it cheapens the musical experience. It's a glut of music. And if you can't find a song you're looking for, well, here are 3 more that will do. So when you go to the aspect of making music special, that ties into this idea of giving people something to believe in, because you can be playing the same music, but if the common denominator is loyalty, then that song becomes very special again.
No, absolutely. So I do want to power through a couple of quick questions here, and then we can take some Q&A from the audience in our last 10 minutes here. So if you're an audience member, if you have any questions, go ahead and feel free to enter into the Q&A aspect. I want to retouch one of the questions that was brought up, and I want to go around the horn and ask you guys if you think this. Would you say that does marketing drive your programming, or is it the opposite way around? Is the programming kind of set you up for your marketing?
I'm the later. I think that the programming basically throws out the marketing because that 70s channel based in the 70s. We're a 70s radio station. You have everything. It's all 70s, and basically we market it around that, around the music. Period. That's it.
Makes sense. Scott, Rob, what did you guys say? Does marketing drive programming, or in your guys' case, is it kind of the opposite way around, and the programming drives your marketing program?
I would say essentially what we do drives our marketing, because over the years, it's kind of like building a house or something, you know, with bricks. Over the years, you get people who support what you're doing, and you keep those quotes. Every time you get a good marketing quote or someone who supports you, you keep that. I mean, over the years, you've got people like Chris Martin, Sean Lennon, Dave Mustaine, Wyclef Jean, Moby, all these people who have sort of got involved with us. Even for them, it was just a moment in time or a day of their lives that they did something for us. No offense, but we're holding on to that. We're keeping that. And that's part of the names that we will eternally be bound with what we're doing, and really helps promote what we continue to do. So whatever we can get, whatever we produce, we leverage that to the maximum by promoting it and telling people, hey, tune in, we've got this great interview, exclusive interview, or tune in, we've got these great giveaways to get these prizes that were donated to us. So whatever we can get, we then promote the heck out of it.
Awesome. So I actually do want to jump in a question here, because this is a great question in the audience, Jim here. It's what is the format and who are you marketing to? We didn't actually, let's go around the horn. And Bud, you want to start us off and give an idea of what is the format of your station, and then who are you specifically marketing to with that one?
Well, that 70s channel is the biggest hits of the 70s and more. We basically have an all 70s playlist, and I mean it's basically all 70s. There's a few songs from the 60s. There's a couple of songs from 1980, 69 basically for that 70s channel. But we have maintained for the last 18 years, we play the music from 1970 through 1979 is exclusive, and it's and the people that we're looking out as people that want to listen to the stations. I'm sure we have a very high 35-64 audience. I don't think we have a lot of young people listening to it, but I've heard that there is people that are there. So that's basically what that is.
Awesome. Scott, you want to give everyone an idea of what your format is, and then who's kind of your main marketing to?
Sure. That is a great question. I apologize for not talking more about that initially, but basically the Sounds of Brazil is bossa nova, Brazilian jazz, and crossover hits from both sides of the equator. So basically it's a pretty even mix between instrumental and vocals, with vocals being split into English and Portuguese. And twice an hour, about a half an hour apart, we play a pop crossover hit that you might hear on any contemporary AOR or like-minded station. And these are touchstones to give a sense of comfort to the listener that may be new. And then we follow those crossover songs with a very strong Brazilian song that has high relatability. So the overall idea, again, is always to work with commonality. You can take people interesting places musically if you provide those musical touchstones. And if anyone wants to listen to the Sounds of Brazil at connectbrazil.com, spend an hour with the format and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's a process that's been really well developed over the years, and it works splendidly.
Awesome. And then Rob, you want to give a quick overview of your format and then who your kind of specific marketing audience is?
Well, we are college radio. We are the first step towards a professional broadcasting career. We are also the last step for students who just want to have fun and not even go into broadcasting, but do an activity that is important in terms of developing who they are as communicators and who they are as people in terms of self-identity. College radio, with its ups and its downs, with its flaws, with its rough edges, with its dead air, with its mistakes. Yes, it can be ugly sometimes, but there is a beauty in that, in the fact that we are completely authentic, and it's a place where students are passionate, and they openly express their thoughts, their ideas, they share their music. And so what we do is that we really make the case that college radio is I think underappreciated. It's an important part of the media landscape. Yes, it's not the most important thing, but like fine art or opera or something, if it were to disappear completely, that would have repercussions through the entire media landscape, because it is a place where many people start and they realize, hey, I really love radio. So what we do is, we market to everyone. Actually, the irony is this, is that obviously we have a lot of college radio stations involved with us, but the irony is this, is that there are generations of people out there who started out in college radio, and they have good memories of that. I mean, if it wasn't for their college radio experiences, they wouldn't be where they are today. So we kind of market to everyone. We find that we have our demographic is from 16 to whatever, because so many people, college radio is not, and that's the other thing. I just want to say one final thing, is that college radio is not dead. I don't think it's dying. It might be reinventing itself for the podcast generation, but college radio is always going to be there. It's always going to be important. And I think it's perhaps a little bit undervalued or underappreciated, but that's life.
I agree with Rob wholeheartedly. In fact, the College of DuPage radio station, WDCB here in Chicago, was the first to give me a chance with the Sounds of Brazil. They took a big risk back in 1992 by putting it on the air, knowing that I wanted to leave to take it to commercial radio. And I was successful. And when Smooth Jazz ended, they welcomed me back. So the dynamics and the important role that college radio plays in developing talent and ideas, I just simply would not have ever had the opportunity if it hadn't been for WDCB.
Cheers. See, that's an excellent example right there of what I'm talking about, how college radio has the ability to change people's lives. And I just heard a couple of my students, even during this time, who graduated. One works for NPR, and they're doing stories for NPR, the other one for ABC Radio News. So, you know, it's always amazing to me what an amazing starting point college radio is.
Absolutely. And couldn't agree more with that. So I do want to power work. I got about 5 minutes left. So I want to power through a couple of questions that come up with. So a couple of people had asked of how many employees or staff members do you guys have that help for your marketing? So I think that'd be a quick one we can go through. Yeah, if we want to start off, Rob, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, we just have we have an all volunteer team of about 4 or 6 people who each one is assigned a different role and a different type of social media. We don't pay them anything, but they do it because they love it and they love the interaction they get with other people.
Awesome. Bud?
Same thing. I have only one person that basically helps me with all my marketing and my Facebook and Instagram. And the man is absolutely fantastic, and he does it for free. Because of course we don't make any money in internet radio. We make a little bit of money, but it's not that much. But it's not be able to pay anybody to do all this stuff. So they do it for the love of it. And that's really what it's all about.
All right. And then Scott?
Oh, same here. 3 people help me. I also have a staff of writers that write on assignment for our website. And they do development work too, but most of the programming is handled by myself and one other person. So
nice. That's awesome. Okay, my last couple here, I think this is a good one. So what do you guys think about promoting a presenter or a DJ show? Is it more important than promoting a station as a whole? And so I'll throw that kind of question out. This will probably be the last one I'll be able to take. I'm going to throw it out and see what your guys' thoughts are versus doing promotion for the entire station, or if you're promoting just a DJ or just a particular show as the kind of core of your marketing.
I think it adds to both. You can do both. Number one, we do promote once in a while. It is not on an ongoing basis, but we basically tell people who's on the air, especially since we're in radio, they don't get to see anybody. I think it's important to know who that person is. Like I'm so blessed. I'm absolutely blessed with the air personalities I have on that 70s channel. We have some crazy ones. We have some they're all pros. They're all professionals. They've been in the business for a long, long time. And I just let them do what they want to do. But yeah, we give them a little promotion on that aspect so that people know what they look like and who they are. And that's important, but it all still ties in with the music, the music of the 70s. You come to that 70s channel to hear music. Not necessarily the disc jockeys aren't stars. They're only there to promote the music. And that's really what it's all about.
Gotcha.
Well, I would say that from a marketing aspect, if you're running a full-time station where you have several announcers doing daily programs, you're obviously going to find one that's going to stand out. And my sense is that you can develop the station's image through that personality in marketing efforts. And I think it's kind of key. People want to relate back to people as well as they do the music. And, that's kind of an iffy thing for streaming radio. But in the sense of broadcast, I think it still remains true. If you have a strong personality, then that can become a marketing face for the station overall.
Mhm.
Totally makes sense. Okay, so I know I am right up against 12 o'clock. With that being said, is there any final parting words that my panelists would like to say to our audience here?
I just thank you for your time today, and I hope you'll stay safe and well.
Yeah, same here with from That 70 channel. This is Bud. Want to thank everyone for coming and listening to us today. We appreciate that, and we want you to please stay safe and come over and enjoy the 70s once in a while if you feel like it.
Awesome.
My thanks, along with a reminder to love the music. Love the music you play. Love every new song, every old song, every chance to make that special segue from one to another. Love every song. And you can reach out to me anytime at connectbrazil.com. I'm Scott Adams. I'd be more than happy to talk with you.
Same with me at that70channel.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you guys very much. I want to thank all of our panelists, Scott, Bud, Rob. We really appreciate it. I know coming in on short notice and then sharing information. I mean, it's fantastic, you guys. I really appreciate it.